Today, onto the Rare blog, we welcome Vincent Metzler. Welcome, Vincent. Vincent is CEO and member of the board at startup biopharma company Kither Biotech. Since completing his PhD in molecular biology, Vincent has progressed through commercial roles, working with a number of rare and orphan products in Europe, and is here today to talk us through his journey to C-suite. So welcome, Vincent. It's great to chat to you today. Can you start by talking us through your journey so far?
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, with pleasure. So as you mentioned in this introduction, I did my studies in molecular biology. I did that in France and in Switzerland in the 1990s. It was a gene therapy project at that time on antisense RNA, so a very early phase of gene therapy. But already during that time, it became clear to me that it's not about delivering publications. What I want, it's really about delivering more something more concrete to the society. So, and also being in Switzerland at that time was a perfect environment to enter the pharmaceutical industry. So I started my career in a fairly unknown company at that time in Switzerland, which is called Amgen. I joined the Swiss team. It was only a handful of people. I joined as a sales rep, and we introduced RNS in oncology in Switzerland during that time. So that's the classical career start in that sense. And then I spent a couple of years at Roche, first in the Swiss company as a product manager, and then I moved into the European headquarters as an international product manager. That was again in oncology. Then a couple of years later, 2008, that's where I had my first experience outside Switzerland. I wanted to break out a little bit, and I joined Kither Biotech, a company based in Germany. It was also my first managerial responsibility, and at the same time, my first experience in a biotech, and I started the biotech world. And that's where I realized that's where I want to be. That's what I like, these small companies, small teams. And that was driving also the rest of my career. So in 2010, then I came back to Switzerland and I had a chance really to join the European Alexion team. Again, a very small team at that time. They were established in the EU5 countries, but nothing else. And with my marketing team at that time, we successfully launched Soliris in several geographies, from the Nordics to Russia, Central Eastern Europe, Turkey, Middle East. So it was really 6 fantastic years at Alexion, where I took more and more responsibilities up to the commercial head for the Soliris franchise in EMEA. So that was also, as you can imagine, my start in the rare disease space. Alexion as well became larger, so here as well I wanted to go back to something smaller. I joined then in 2016. I joined a company based in Sweden, Wilson Therapeutics, and in my role as a vice president for commercial planning and launch strategy, I was really making sure that the company is well set with a long-term commercial vision to drive the rare disease asset through the clinical development phase. And this activity contributed to the successful acquisition of Wilson Therapeutics by Alexion in 2018. So moving on, then I joined the European team of Atara Biotherapeutics. This is a US-based company developing cell therapy. So here again, a great opportunity to acquire expertise in this very specialized world of cell therapy. My role was VP Marketing and Commercial Operations. And because Atara decided quite quickly in 2020 not to commercialize themselves in Europe, I was also supporting the company to identify a commercial partner for Europe, and that led to a collaboration with Pierre Fabre. During that time, I also joined then the board of directors of Kither Biotech, where I am now. So I'm in the board since more than 3 years. This is a small biotech based in Italy. Here as well, developing therapies for rare diseases, in that case in the respiratory space, and especially inhalation therapies. Again, something new to me as well, with a lot of interesting challenges. I supported the company in their fundraising for the Series B. That was last year. And once we successfully closed the Series B, then I moved up and took over the CEO role. But that's in a nutshell what I did so far.
Great, thank you for that. So what would you say then is your favorite part of your job as CEO?
It's a special question because I couldn't mention one favorite part. I think what makes the CEO also enjoyable actually is the mix of everything that you're doing. You have to deal with all the different aspects of the business. So you interact with all the internal and external stakeholders. You define and implement the company strategy, and you shape the future basically. So being the CEO also of a small biotech is adding an additional layer, which is speed. You need to be taking the right decisions very quickly because you're in a fast-moving environment. It's a very dynamic marketplace. So really to answer your question, it's not one part, it's the mix of all these things that make the role so exciting.
Yeah. And so what has been the biggest challenge that you've faced in your career so far?
Yeah, here as well, I guess I will not name only one challenge, but it's a recurring challenge that most of us are actually facing over the time. So say myself in the last 20 years that I spent in the business, you will always face resistance from people who think differently. So that's the challenge, the recurring challenge that I'm speaking about. And you need really to acquire the right knowledge, the right skills, to also get the right facts to overcome these moments of resistance. And as you could hear through my journey, I was working with American companies, with Nordics companies, now in Italian companies. So what I realized as well is that these people who think differently, this resistance that you may see is very often also driven by cultural differences. So that's absolutely normal. So myself as a Swiss guy, you need to learn how to deal with Germans or Italians when you're joining such a company, or as a European guy, you need to learn how to deal with Asians or Americans. So it's really a continuing learning process. So the challenge is really about that. It's overcoming this recurrent resistance that you will be facing throughout your career. Right,
interesting. Thank you. And so if you were just starting your career now in the biopharma industry, what advice would you give to somebody?
So the advice would be linked to what I was mentioning about the challenge of facing a resistance. It's really about keep learning. Don't stop learning how people think. Understand why they do something, why they act in a specific way. And you need to find also your own way of thinking and defending your own way of acting. So it's, I'm saying that because I come from the academic world, and I was mentioning before, my goal was not to publish and to deliver scientific publications, because that's how success is measured in the academic world. But when you want to succeed in the biopharma industry, you must include the human factor in the equation. So you need to develop yourself, but you also need to develop your network, because you will rely on others to be successful. It's really about that. Make sure that you're well equipped, that you understand others, and that you also use others to achieve your goals, because they will also help you in that sense. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that's some great advice from a CEO as well. So thanks a lot for taking the time to feature today, Vincent. It's been really great to talk to you. If anyone has any questions or would like to connect with Vincent, then I'll put my email address as always at the end. Thanks a lot again for featuring on Rare.
Thank you very much, Laura, for this opportunity. Excellent.